You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You're listening to Paranormal Concept right here on Parasearch UK Radio with your host, Paul Brook.
Good evening, everybody. It is 9 o'clock. It's the 2nd of May 2017, and it only means one thing. Yes, it's the Paranormal Concept show. And tonight I'm joined by Kerry Greenaway. Hello, Kerry.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Have you recovered from the weekend?
Just about. It's been a very heavy weekend this weekend, I have to say.
It was really good, and I kept you out all night. Well, most of the night Saturday, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, we went to, for everyone that's listening, we went to the Ramsgate Maritime Museum in Kent, and yeah, it was fascinating. You was on fire that night, weren't you?
Well, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but you know.
Yeah. No, you was good picking up on that lady that was there. Well, mind you, she wasn't really there, was she? She was sort of down the road a bit.
I know. I had to go down onto the jetty and all sorts to pinpoint where she was. So
it
was quite
funny.
interesting. I went off on a run.
You was running all over. Yeah, you did. You went running all over the place. Oh, it was so funny. But
to you?
Anyway, well, absolutely. Right. Well, tonight's show is all about the bullying that goes on in the paranormal community. So I know that we nearly broke Facebook today and other social media by posting about tonight's show, and everyone had to comment. So what was the outcome on your post?
I had so many people commenting it was untrue, to the point where we've actually invited somebody else onto the show with us tonight, haven't we, Paul?
We have. And I'm going to now introduce Ashley Nibb.
Hiya.
Hiya, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good. Well, it's really great to see you or speak to you, because I've not actually had a chance to literally get to know you at all. Unlike Kerry. Kerry gets all the fun, I suppose.
Oh, I do like to introduce myself to people and get to know people, Paul. Not like you.
Yeah. No, that's it. Keep myself to myself, and yeah, it's all that paranormal bullying going on.
I don't buy into that.
So, what was it that you posted, and what sort of response did you get?
Okay, well, I just put a basic Facebook post up on my general page saying, paranormal bullying, what's your take on it? And I had so many people comment on it. Even my sister got involved, would you believe? And my sister doesn't buy into the paranormal in any way, shape or form. So for her to post, I was actually quite shocked. But no, there was loads and loads of really relevant points that I found absolutely fascinating, because there was lots of different points. One thing that came through above everything else was bullying in any way, shape or form is not acceptable.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I still know, though, that there is a lot of it that goes about. Now, I'm speaking from experience where I've had a particular team in that I know of and they will just constantly ridicule me. They will constantly backstab me and spread loads of rubbish about me around my local area. I know, Kerry, you heard some of it.
I did.
And I know Kerry Ann as well also heard some of it. But upon meeting me and doing the show and everything, you know that it's just totally load of rubbish. But it's just still, sadly, goes on so much.
It does. It seems to. However, I wanted to check the definition of bullying.
Yeah.
Because I also think there's a terminology issue with this paranormal bullying, in all honesty. Now, bullying, and this is the definition as per the dictionary, okay, guys, which is to use superior strength or influence to intimidate someone, typically to force them to do something, to persecute, to oppress, to tyrannize, to torment, to browbeat, to intimidate, to coerce, to strong-arm, to subjugate, to domineer. So that is one of, there's lots of other mini definitions of that. Twist someone's arm, strong-arm, all that sort of thing. But that is the true definition of bullying. Now, when we are online, or it's very difficult. That's one thing that we have all discussed this, the three of us have discussed this. It's very, very difficult sometimes to understand where someone's coming from in a text. We've all misread a text before, haven't we, lads?
Yep,
Yes.
once or twice.
And taken what's been said out of context or out of the personality that the person has put, the person that said it. I mean, I can be quite sarcastic and very dry-humoured, and that doesn't always translate particularly well in text. But once you've met me, you know to read the text as I say it.
Yeah.
So you go, oh yeah, she's being sarcastic, or she's bantering. You know what I mean? Because you know me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I think that if you're going to carry on picking at someone, and to the point where it starts making them feel withdrawn, even to the depths of suicidal, that to me is bullying.
Well, because it's having a detrimental effect on
Absolutely.
somebody's personality.
I mean, there was a case probably going back a couple of years ago now, where someone was accused of running a paranormal team, and they done a charity event, and someone accused them of doing a runner with the charity money. But they would keep on and on and on constantly on Facebook, on their profile pages, to the point where they were blocked by the other team manager. But they would still spread these lies, and, well, I'm assuming they're lies because they've sort of cleared their name in a way. But they just still keep on and on and on. And to be fair, I mean, it's no one else's business. I mean, if they are actually, cheating the system or even committing these crimes, report them to the police. It's got nothing to do with you then. Once you've done that, that's your civic duty. Once you've done that, then just leave it alone. Do you know what I mean? If they are then actually committing a crime, then they're going to be done for it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm going?
I see what you're saying. I know which instance you're talking about, and I agree with you there. If a crime has been committed, it should be reported. However, in this day and age, we're very social media driven, whether that be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the other different forums that people use. Now, that is a very different case in regards to, that's almost embezzlement, isn't it?
It is, but you've still got the person that's accusing someone else. But rather than taking it to the police and letting them deal with it the right way, they're picking at this person and telling all their mates and everyone else that will listen, and there's loads of people that will listen, and they're going to have a detrimental effect on that person they're accusing.
That's true.
So, to me, again, that's just a form of bullying. a mental abuse.
It's almost like as you use the term, it's almost like a modern day version of a witch hunt in a way, isn't it? Because it's like
it is
back up from other people to dampen down someone's credibility and all that kind of stuff without actual probable, possible, or any evidence of any count to back up their entire story. And like I said, if that was the case, they should be taking it to authorities, and then they should put that case forward and investigate it properly if it is illegal activities that have gone on.
Yeah, I mean, there is even a thing that went on, and I think it was the editor of the Haunted magazine. He started posting on Facebook about, I believe it was a company called Simply Paranormal, and they had basically gone out of business in the UK, and they still owed people money, but the company was still running in America. So this editor got involved and he plastered it all over Facebook that they're ripping people off. I've contacted them. I've demanded answers. But it's not his place to do that. So again, I think that's a form of bullying in itself. Because, okay, if he believes that strongly, then he should take that to the authorities. He shouldn't be doing anything himself. It's got nothing to do with him. But he's still creating that... that witch hunt type of response by everybody. And, I mean, it turned out that this company was trying to sort it all out so that they could pay back the customers. But it was just his whole demeanour, and there are so many people like that.
Sorry. Go on, Karen.
No, there is that. And there is a lot of that is the problem. One of the problems with social media is people do stick their nose into other people's businesses when it's not really necessary. And if it is a crime, then you're right, it should have been passed on to the proper authorities to investigate and look into, and should be kept in that realm rather than, like you say, a witch hunt on social media. Now, we have all witnessed this recently, and it's very, very controversial, with the most haunted video, haven't we? Which is a different level. It's not a criminal activity, but it's something that was put out there on television and has generated a huge debate, heated in some occasions, and I've seen some very harsh critiqued posts about that particular video. I have my own personal opinion on it, but that's my personal opinion. And it's how people react to it, isn't it?
It is, I think.
You can't control that. You can't control how somebody's going to react. You can control how you react to that.
Absolutely. And I decided, since, like, when I was being bullied, as it were, I just decided, you know what, let them think that. I don't care. I'm not interested. I'm me. I know what I'm doing. I'm all above board. There's nothing they can do other than just sit there and have a moan. And while they're moaning about me, they're leaving someone else alone. Do you know?
But you're an incredibly laid back person, Paul. You can take that. You can have that mental attitude. Not everybody has got that mental attitude. I mean, very rarely do I get called out. But when I do, it upsets me. It really does upset me. And I do my hardest not to cause that kind, or have that kind of stuff thrown at me. But I mean, in regards to the crystals more than the paranormal, to be fair.
Yeah.
But when I've had that, particularly when someone is like, there's no scientific proof in regards to healing with crystals, and they come at you quite strongly, you have to kind of realise that they're not actually attacking you as a person, they're attacking the concept of what you do. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I have quite heated debates with, going back to my sister, because she is very much in the, it doesn't exist, there's nothing there, it's all psychological. She's very much in that camp, and I'm very much in the other camp, the spiritual airy-fairy kind of camp, I suppose. That's how she classes it, as airy-fairy. And we have heated discussions. Now, I never get offended by that because I know her. You know what I mean? She's my sister. I know where she comes from. She knows where I come from. And I know what she's talking about. But if someone comes at me and I don't know who they are, and they're just literally attacking that side of things with no real, motive other than just to be confrontational, it can be very difficult. It can be very hurtful.
Yeah, I do know exactly what you're saying, definitely, and I agree with that. But I still think that there are just ways and means of doing it. I mean, fair enough. You can have a conversation with someone and talk about your different opinions, and I think it all comes down to respect.
Yeah.
Everyone has different opinions. Mm-hmm. The other night you done a radio show about paranormal courses, and I run a company that offers paranormal courses. Mm-hmm. But I don't confess to say that they are like diplomas or what's the word, accredited in any way. Mm-hmm. I'm just basing it on our experience, because we've got, between the three business partners, we've got something like 40 years of paranormal experience behind our backs. So, putting all that down on paper and giving our experience to other people, and that's really what other people are paying for through the courses. So that, we've sort of kept up a high standard for our courses, but it's only our standards.
That wasn't a personal attack on you, though, Paul.
No, I know, but that's my opinion. But I think if I was on that show, I think because at the time we're having a discussion, I could put forward my argument for why they're a good idea, but someone else could have a different opinion, and I could give them the completely ump over it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just a bit like that, really.
Ashley?
On the paranormal courses element of it, I'm kind of caught in the middle, I think, on that one, because I know a few people who are parapsychologists who work at universities and things like that, and obviously they've done many years of study in order to get where they are. And a lot of them have a let's say, negative view towards some of the courses that are offered for a couple of £100 over a few weeks, and then you have a certificate that says you can do certain things within the paranormal. As you just said right there, obviously now your courses say you're a parapsychologist now because you spent 2 weeks doing a course.
Yeah.
But there are some, notably that come from overseas and stuff like that, courses that do give you that, and they do quote that as well in the title, that could do this course and you become a parapsychologist and things like that, and it's like, it's a certificate, but it's not the actual parapsychology certificate. It's not a diploma in psychology or anything like that. So I get quite stuck in the middle, because I see the value of some of the courses out there where they're sharing knowledge that people have gained, like you've just explained.
Yeah.
And also the value of doing degrees in psychology and understanding higher understandings and higher concepts within the science field in order to understand greater aspects of parapsychology, paranormal, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, as with any area, there's always going to be a few, should we call them charlatans out there, that offer you a bog standard course for a lot of money that doesn't really give you anything at the end of it, apart from maybe some standard stuff that you can find anywhere in a normal library.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Very true.
So,
sorry, I'll be on that one.
Anyway, going back to the what started the concept for this show, in all honesty, which was the backlash that Most Haunted got regarding said video. Now, I know we all have our various opinions on that video, and Ashley wrote a blog on that video, and he basically said, Most Haunted offer the scientific-based paranormal community the raw data for us to have a look at, rather than us just dismissing it. Let's just have a look at the raw data and form an educated opinion on that. That's basically what you were saying in your blog, isn't it, Ashley? Yeah,
it comes off the basis element of science. It's peer review at the end of the day. If they're sitting there saying, which I don't discount them to be, or not, or whether it's real or not real, if they're saying we've got raw footage that proves that we've captured on film a ghost, then provide some of the community, the paranormal community, that footage, so that they can independently review it, and come back with an educated understanding of what it might be. I mean, for example, if I was to obtain that raw footage, I'd take it to people in the film industry that could understand that raw data and how it works and all that kind of stuff. Also, people in the paranormal field that could look at the elements of it and all that kind of stuff. So I'd utilise different aspects to analyse the film and the footage to then come to a report of some kind to tell us what it could be or what it is. Obviously, in reality, our understanding of what a ghost is still out there. So if it is footage that says that is a ghost and that is none of them, then obviously we've got something to work from. So then we're going from, okay, they exist, now what are they? But without that raw footage, we're still stuck in the is it real, is it not real kind of place. Do we trust them? Do we trust them?
Absolutely. And I mean, I tend to keep away from anything most haunted related anyway. But that is, that's just down to me. But I class them as ghost hunters, not paranormal investigators. So when they've come up with this video evidence saying, okay, I've caught a ghost, what they're really saying is, I've caught something that I can't explain, but they should let the people that are paranormal investigators investigate it. So they should offer that, they should offer that raw footage to be investigated by the scientific paranormal investigators of the world. I think that's quite a reasonable offer, request. It'd be interesting.
It's something I'd do myself. If I put something online and someone looked at one of my videos and said, I don't quite believe what you posted there. I mean, on my website, I've got a crystal clear EVP, for example, and I could hopefully I should be able to dig up the actual footage from somewhere and send that to someone if they wanted to look at it or analyse it or anything like that. And if anyone came back to me and said, actually what it is this, then I'd be quite happy for them to go, all right, if you can prove that what you think is what it is, then that's fine. That's the whole point of how we do things at the end of the day. We capture things sometimes by accident because we work in an environment, especially when you're paranormal investigators, in an environment where you're hoping to capture something. So if you're hoping to capture something, some of the time it's going to be by accident and it's not going to be a controlled experiment around it, perhaps, in which case, like the most situation.
Have Most Haunted responded to your request for the raw footage?
No response as yet.
And I did tag them in it. Because I have links with Most Haunted, and I did tag them in it, and they haven't responded to you.
Several have, and it's also been sent through to some of the people from Most Haunted, and still I've had nothing back. But there again, it's out there, isn't it?
You put it out there. That's all you can do.
That's it, and it'd be interesting to see what their response is. But I have read some of the attacks they've been getting.
Yes.
And
that's where we're going with this, actually. It's not so much about the actual video, it's actually about the attacks that they got. Regardless of what you think of Most Haunted, they're a television programme. They're out there for ratings. They have been out there for a long time. They have a huge, huge following. Even to this day, they have a huge following.
And do you know what? Right? I mean, as much as I dislike the programme, you've got to give them some credit because they have given the likes of me a boost to study the paranormal because, they were... I think they were just starting when I was starting. And, okay, it was almost like a boost for me to get involved. But I've learned so much more from other people and other teams than I have Most Haunted. It was a starting point, to be fair. For a lot of people, Most Haunted was a starting point for a lot of people back in the day. We're going back in the day. And, I'm not knocking them for that because credit where credit's due. If it wasn't for them... and them getting people interested into the paranormal, then I wouldn't be able to run my events and doing paranormal investigations and stuff like that. But I consider myself a paranormal investigator, not a ghost hunter. I sort of separate the two. So, when we get a private investigation coming, I go to someone's house, I do a proper, full paranormal investigation. Obviously, when we're doing the events, it's a little bit more relaxed because a lot of the guests and people want a mixture of the ghost hunting as opposed to the paranormal investigating. It's a bit of swings and roundabouts. So it's sort of, but I can sort of switch between the two jobs. which is quite difficult sometimes.
But we have discussed the differences in different types of paranormal investigations before. We did a show on that, if you remember rightly.
Yeah, we did.
Because we ended up coming up with about 4 or 5 different types of investigations that you can do, from the basic ghost hunt where you go out basically for a thrill factor, to a pure private confidential paranormal investigation. There's a huge difference in how you investigate when you're, depending on the circumstance you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but the attacks that Most Haunted have been getting over this footage is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't understand some people's mentality. I really don't. It's really ridiculous. It really is. Why do people think that they are better than other teams just because they've got a paranormal team behind them? Do you know what I mean?
Or just a bit more knowledge. I mean, James, we've got the chat room is actually on fire tonight, so
Good.
Thank you all for joining us. James still says, it is futile saying my knowledge of the unknown is better than your knowledge of the unknown.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's something I've always claimed. I've never claimed to be an expert. I mean, I've studied the paranormal for a lot of number of years, and I've even done some of these online courses in parapsychology and stuff. And I've got a diploma certificate sitting at home, but it's just a bit of paper. It doesn't mean nothing. All I've done is just studied a little bit more than some other people, but I'm not nowhere near an expert.
But experience is incredibly important in this.
Of course,
field.
it is, and that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's the experience.
I mean, I'm going to share a link into the chat room. This is a link that Richard shared on my post earlier today, which is basically a guy who goes under the name of Paranormal Truth, I think it is. Yeah, the Paranormal Truth, and he has basically outlined how you can fake this particular piece of evidence that they've come up with. That's his opinion. He's not trolling, he's not bullying, he's just giving an opinion on what it could be, how they could have achieved this. But it's not bullying, it's an opinion. But some of the backlash, it was basically, I don't call it bullying, I call it trolling. Trolling,
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, do we agree with that point? I think bullying is a concept of term that is taken sometimes out of context, but depending on the perception of the person that said it, who's taken that opinion. But I think some of it was just downright nasty and unnecessary.
Okay, I've not actually seen that one, so...
Well, I'm on some of the most haunted sites, and some of them are basically just really unnecessary.
I think, to be fair, I think I've been thrown off of most of them. I was on them.
So, are you saying that this guy that put the video together about how they are using the overlay technique to fake it, he's received a lot of trolling from Most Haunted fans? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, there has been a lot of that, but there's also been a lot of, on the posts that Most Haunted have put, people doing it to the Most Haunted team as well. It's been just about anybody that's posted about this particular video that Most Haunted have said they've caught a ghost. There's been a lot of trolling or bullying, or however you want to term it, on the post, which is unnecessary. There's opinions, which Paranormal Truth has put an opinion out there as how that could have been achieved. That, in my view, that was not bullying, that was just an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stated how you can use the overlay technique in filming in order to create a faded image of someone on the stairs and stuff like that, which is a valid point to be recognised. So,
exactly.
And it's a counter argument, in which case it's in like peer review, he's saying this is how you could do it by faking it. Give us the raw footage and prove that you're not doing that, and then we'll put that one to bed. Simple as that.
Exactly. And exactly the same way as what you said in your blog. You were saying, give us the raw footage, we'll have a look at it, we'll examine it, and then we can form a proper opinion on it, rather than watching something blindly in blind faith and accepting everything we see at face value.
Yes, that's right.
It's no different. It's an opinion. It's saying it's not any form of abuse or trolling. It's just saying, great, if you've caught that, let's look at it a bit more closely. Let's have that footage. Let's do that. You know, that's not trolling, that's not bullying. It's saying, put it out there more. If that's what you've caught, fantastic, great. Let's get it. Let's look at it. Let's examine it. Let's see if we can pin this down for once in the paranormal field. We can do that. And they haven't allowed that to happen. So all people could do is offer an opinion on what's been shown. And some of those opinions have been very disrespectful and not very nice.
No, I've seen that. You know, I've seen that on the Most Haunted site, and I've even commented and put my opinion across, and people have come back at me, and it's like, well, you know, I'm giving you my opinion. I've been a paranormal investigator for so many years now. That's what I think it could be. Now, I think personally that they should then take that as constructive criticism or just my opinion, and then they could say, well, actually, he's got a point. Let's try and test out for that. But that's the difference between a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter, because, you know, most haunted are ghost hunters, let's face it, and they're not really interested in that. It's a case of, oh, we just caught a ghost. Well, no, they haven't. They've caught something they can't explain. Let's now try to explain it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's that, I think that is the issue for most teams out there. You've got the ghost hunters and the paranormal investigators, and they are always going to be clashing heads. Always.
Mm-hmm. Right, on that note, we'll take a little break, and when we come back, we'll continue with this train of thought. So bear with us, guys. And Gray, I will get to your question in just a second.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
And welcome back. Now, we've been asked, well, we're talking about paranormal bullying, and one question that Gray Rudd's put into the chat room is, could I ask your thoughts on this? When people post possible evidence they may have captured as a picture, EVP, etc., and hasn't been photoshopped or digitally messed with, people shoot them down in flames, saying it's fake. Some people post things that haven't been messed with, yet it falls under the same umbrella. They are asking for people's thoughts and trying to learn. Okay, did that make sense to you?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
That's
I mean,
fine.
Ashley, did you find that EVP that you took?
Have I found it? I haven't found it now at the moment, but the one that I've got, it swears, so I can't tell it online. But I found that when I first captured that, the only people that believed in that EVP itself were the people that were there at the time. Anyone outside of that group had then an opinion or disbelief in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right down to the thought that, that was one of you speaking, and people that were there knew it wasn't us because it was out of context. It didn't follow the train of conversation. It was in a completely different accent from any of us and all that kind of stuff, which means that if someone was putting an accent on and being joking and stuff like that, there would have been a laugh or a reaction after that, and there was nothing like that. So all those kind of things it had nothing to do with it, and all of us that were in that group that filmed it and got that EVP knew that was the case, but anyone outside of that group were kind of like, nah, it's too good, so it can't be real, sort of thing.
Yeah, you can share the link into the chat room if you like, because the show is marked as explicit.
I've not got the chat room because I can't get it up. I'll get it to work on my but it is on my website, so we'll try and find it whilst we're chatting away, and then fire it across to you, and then you can post it.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, because I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it.
So I've posted. I've posted pictures on Facebook, in our group pages and stuff, and asked for people's opinions. Now, when I get an opinion, I think, well, okay, yeah, I can buy that. I can understand where they're coming from. Now, let's go and test that theory out. So I can then go back to them and say, well, actually, we've tested for that, and it's not that reason that this photo's come out the way it has. So, it's about a little bit of respect. I mean, I can put a post out saying, I've captured this, what do you think? And if someone comes back to me with a theory, then I can then go, right, okay, well, I'm going to take that theory and now I'm going to test it. Okay, no, that's not the reason that photo come out like that. So what else could it be? And that's sort of how you learn.
Yeah.
And you can build on that, because next time, if you get another photo coming out, even if they do end up to be right, and it was something that I missed, if they turn out to be right, I can say, well, actually, yeah, you was right. That's brilliant. Thanks for that. So next time when that happens, I've got that experience to say, well, actually, no, this is exactly what it is. And, then that becomes my opinion as well. But people don't have that respect. There's a lot of teams out there that don't have that respect for other people.
So does it come down to jealousy between teams? The fact that somebody's caught something that somebody else hasn't? Is that really a thing? Or are we all working towards the same goal, which is basically to try and prove that there is life after life and that you can interact with spirit and spirit are existing? Do you know what I mean? That's what we're all trying to do while we go out there. So is it an actual...
I think, yeah, it can be jealousy. I can't honestly think of any other reason why someone would slate another paranormal team that had caught something on camera. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes I've put pictures out there knowing full well exactly what it is. But it's interesting to see, on a psychological level, what people think it is. And it's very rare for them to come up and say, oh, well, actually, this is what it is. And I'm like, yeah, okay, spot on. Because I know what it is. So sometimes I'm always tricking people in a way. But it's a psychological experiment rather than tricking, I suppose. There was a picture, when I first started doing the paranormal, I went to a place called the Ragged School in London. Mm-hmm. And my brother was there, and he had a cheap version of an EMF meter, so it had a little green light on it, and he was waving it up and down for some reason, because I don't know, maybe see it on telly or something. But I took a picture of him doing that in the dark. I didn't have no flash on, nothing like that. So all you see was this green streak of light. Now, obviously, I know that because of my shutter speed and everything, that's how it would appear. But I posted that on Facebook to see what people say about it. And there was so many people saying, oh, that's a spirit. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's my brother with a green light in his hand. It's just interesting to see what people's opinions are. And that's why I do things like that. But there are times, I mean, I think I posted one of those memory pictures the other day on my Facebook account, and it was me taking a picture of a mirror, and above my head in this mirror is a face, but it was almost like this person had Down syndrome, and it was quite a big, chunky guy in this mirror above my head. Now, a lot of people say it's reflection, but I personally don't believe that, because it doesn't look anything like me, for one. But it's still interesting to see what other people make of it.
Mm. Yeah, I agree, because that is a point of learning. You capture something, you put it out there for people to look at and give you an opinion. If you don't know what it is, somebody may well come up with something that you haven't or come across before or know about. I mean, Kev Kerr is in the chat room. Good evening, Kev.
I've just seen that. Yeah, absolutely.
And he says, skeptics can find themselves being bullied by believers. I always try my best to help people understand a piece of research, which is usually met with some pretty harsh feedback. Now, I mean, I was always a huge, huge fan of the Spirit Box. Huge fan of that. And then I watched Kev's video, and it actually made me look at it in a slightly different way. This is about Bob the Orange.
Yeah, I guess that was absolutely
fantastic. He made
fantastic.
me laugh. He made me see it in a slightly different way. And I don't discount the spirit box still, but I look at it in a different way now to how I did when I very first started investigating. Now, do you find that, Ashley, that when you first started, how your perception of things and your knowledge has changed, so you view the paranormal now completely different?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I started off as a researcher, with my head in books for years and years and years, and I discovered overnight investigations and quickly became a ghost hunter, fumbling around in the dark, learning about bits of kit and all that kind of stuff. But over the years, my opinion and my approach has dramatically changed. I've gone from, I've captured obviously a crystal clear EVP. I've got on video an object moving by itself, and I quickly realised that those mediums of communicating that kind of bits and pieces tells us there's something going on, and what it is we don't know. So basically, they don't prove anything for me. I don't call them evidence. You might have seen some of my comments in chat rooms and stuff where I'm saying evidence isn't the right word to be using, because in my mind, evidence is absolute. It's a provable fact. So, and none of this is provable. It's all unknown stuff at the moment. We don't know what any of this stuff is. We don't know if it's proof of if it's heading down this is what life after death is, and we don't know if it's something else that we don't know about. It could be dimensional. It could be a hell of a lot of different things and theories that are out there that we're just touching the tip of the iceberg on. So, and more recently, my whole mentality towards that kind of stuff has started to filter in, where I'm looking at things that are to do with physics, quantum physics, all that kind of stuff, looking at different elements that way, and then beginning to change my opinion. I've brought up in the past on your show before about telepathy and telepathic interaction and stuff like that, and how a lot of this stuff could be based around actually just ourselves. Yeah. We could be doing all these anomalies could actually be generated by ourselves completely. So that's what I think about now more so than
I totally agree with you. I mean, when I first started, we was getting people coming to us and saying, "Oh, we've got poltergeist activity. Come and investigate it." You know, we'd go there, and it would be very rare that anything would happen anyway. But last Saturday, on the way home from this investigation, we actually stopped at the petrol station, and there was a guy there that got talking to us, and he said that he's got some poltergeist activity going on in his house. So we was trying and pick up his story to try and give him a bit of hope, and you know, we'll be there for you, sort of thing. Reassurance, that's the word. And my approach is slightly different to some people's, because the people I was with wanted to go there and do an investigation and approach it from a spiritual point of view, because they said that he had just done some renovation work in his house, so it could be spirit that's not happy with that. My approach was completely opposite. I said to them, okay, so if you think it's poltergeist activity, have you got any children? Yes, he said, three young girls, 8, 12 and 15, I think. I said, okay. Do they possess any sort of psychic ability? Like, can they see spirits or hear things and stuff like that? And he said, yeah, when they go to their granddad's, they often see their dead nan. So I was like, okay. So they could be sort of breaking into spiritualism sort of thing going on there. And equally, telekinesis, I said that I wanted to try and do a Xena test, and I need to get some Xena cards to test these children out to see whether they have got any psychic ability at all. But that is more to do with parapsychology than it is anything spiritual. So my take on it is more open-minded, I should say, really, I think.
I mean, I've always said you don't just be a paranormal investigator, you have to be a lot of ologists as well. You have to know physiology, you have to know psychology, you have to know meteorology, you have to know geology. There's lots and lots of different factors that affect the paranormal, and can cause a logical explanation for some of the phenomena that is being experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a member of the ASSAP, which is a scientific community for the paranormal. Now, if I get something, say for example, I test these children out and they pass this Xena test, with flying colours. I could then say, right, okay, well, to me that's sort of unexplained how you can do that, and the activity you're getting is genuine because we've experienced it. That would then sort of I can only investigate and gather information, and then to a point, when it gets to a point, I can then say to the ASSAP, right, okay, this is what we've got. Can I have some help? Because I've tested all the avenues that I can, and I still can't explain it. Is there anything that I've missed? Is there something that you can do that I've not heard of yet? Do you know what I mean? So, to me, it's not the paranormal because it's unexplained. Do you know what I mean? Just because I can't explain it, it doesn't make it paranormal.
The lack of data more than anything. We have to capture as much data as possible to find out what it could be or what direction it's going in. And then, like you said, you consult with people like ASAP or for me, I consult with SPR, the SPR to make sure to get from them as well, because obviously they've got an abundance of experience in that sort of field as well. So yeah, exactly right. Yeah. The first port of call isn't running in and doing an investigation or some kind of gathering or anything like that. The first port of call is gathering information and data, and I would approach that exactly the same way. Is the first thing I'd do is a diary of activity for weeks to find out what's going on and all that kind of stuff, and then you get that kind of understanding of what's happening. So, and rather than rushing into things like back to the most haunted video, like, oh my God, it's a ghost! Quick, everyone run and talk about it for a while. It's like, well, let's look at it, find out what the data is around it, understand it, look at that raw footage, all that kind of stuff.
And again, that I think it boils down to that. Whether you're a paranormal investigator or a ghost hunter, and I think that is sort of where the friction lies.
Yeah.
Because they turn around and say, "Yeah, I've caught a ghost," and then a paranormal investigator goes, "Well, actually, you haven't, not yet. Let's look at it. Let's investigate it," and then they get offended because you want to do that, and it's just a battle between the two. It's constant, and maybe they should just stop and have a bit of respect for each other and get on. If that makes sense.
So do you think then, guys, that there would be... Basically what we're talking about is getting some para-unity involved in the paranormal field. Do you think that's ever possible? I mean, I've been in the field now for quite a few years, not many as some, and I'm learning all the time from lots of different people. Do you think that's ever going to be a factor, the para-unity?
I personally don't. Because there are too many people out there that are too quick to jump on the bandwagon. They've all got their own opinions, and lack of respect. You don't have respect like you used to years ago. And I just think people get offended too easily. Para-unity, I don't think that the paranormal community are ready for that yet. It's a good ideal, don't get me wrong, and I try to work with everybody. I take all constructive criticism constructively, and I think, I do ask for other people's opinions. I'm not an expert in any way, so there are things out there still that I can't explain, but other people might be able to. So,
Ashley?
Yeah. Well, back in 2014, I worked with some of the guys that put on the Paracon back then, and part of the ethic around that was a para-unity thing, but that didn't kind of really take off because a lot of people wouldn't or couldn't buy into it for various different reasons, not just because they didn't want to, but because it didn't really fit something what they want to do. And I think I learned out the back of that the thing was missing wasn't so much para-unity, but the simple things that have come up tonight a couple of times is things like respect, understanding, listening to people. Taking their opinions on board and saying, okay, right, that's your approach, that's your perception of something. I think this, but not taking offence to it, not understanding criticism and understanding the difference between these elements of things. Like I said before about scientific, like peer review sort of thing. We almost have to be in that situation where we're conducting peer review of each other's evidence and, well, I don't want to use the word evidence, but footage or audio or whatever. But not in a way where we're attacking and abusing each other about it, because that's not the way it should be handled. It should be, okay, person A might not believe the footage that Most Haunted captured is real, and they might believe that it was an overlay thing, but person B may 100% believe that. But then both those people aren't wrong just because of that. We need that information and the more data, which we don't have at the moment, in order to understand whether one is more right or one is more wrong and all that kind of stuff. And I think people need to understand that and have that patience as well. Patience is probably a good point for people to have, to get that point as well, rather than jumping in their feet first and saying we've caught a ghost, or jumping in feet first and saying what you posted on Facebook last week is a picture of nothing and all this kind of stuff. Because the other thing in the paranormal field that people completely forget about when they're posting all these things, because they might not think they're attacks, is also there's belief systems that are wound up into all this as well.
Very much so.
Very personal about their belief systems, and I've learned that over the years, how to talk to people and how to understand people. Even when I think that there's no paranormal activity or anything like that going on, I can understand that their belief system may have an understanding of what's happening and may concern them in a different way, in which case you have to talk to them, taking into consideration their belief systems and all that kind of stuff. And that's also important, which is one thing I think people don't quite get. Para-Unity, in the form that it's been put out there, won't happen because because it's all bound within a social environment that we live in anyway. So people are always going to disagree with each other, but we just have to learn to understand to disagree with each other and move on and not argue about things aggressively, but sort of like constructively.
No, I totally agree. Now, we've spoken a few times on Parasearch UK, generally led by our very own Kerry Ann, about building a ultimate paranormal investigation team. And in the chat room, we have some main players in the field, including Kev Kerr, Gray Rudd. We've got Carl Hutchinson, he's in there. James Steele has a firm interest in there. Obviously, you've got myself and Ashley Nibb and Paul Rook. Do you think that a power team of paranormal investigators could bring the paranormal community together when you've got that level of... I love the way I include myself in that field. That level of credibility.
I think because obviously I've been in the paranormal community for quite a while now, I've sort of... It's almost like I drift around and sort of connect to people. Like Kev Kerr, I spoke to Kev loads of times. I think he's an absolutely fantastic bloke. And, I get on with him. So, if I ever need any help or advice or anything like that, then I can go to Kev Kerr. I know that his opinion is going to be a good one. And I've got total respect for him, as well as anyone else. Do you know what I mean? And they're the people I want to be associated with. So that is my community. That is probably how I'm trying to explain it. These people are my community. So I've got a good basis of a paranormal unity just with these few people.
So we actually come to a point where we're sitting here going, okay, so you've got basically the serious, scientifically minded, as it were, people that are really trying to get to the bottom line of what paranormal investigation is and why these things happen and how they happen. But then you have got the ghost hunt community who aren't educated and do put stuff out there and defend their television program or team or whatever. You've got two camps and they're never going to meet, are they? Because you've got people that know a lot more because they've been in the field and they like you say, they ask for opinions, they don't get offended, they are trying to understand what it is that they might have captured, and they'll educate themselves and look at the SPR and look at ASAP and look at the Ghost Club and talk to people that have been in the field and know a lot more. And then you've got the people that go out on, public ghost hunts and capture an orb and put it out there going, I've got a spirit. Do you know what I mean? And we all go, oh, here we go, another orb photo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, there was a point right at the beginning of my journey, I thought orbs were spirits until I was educated in a different way. And that is where I went, oh, hello, there's more to this field than I thought. Let's learn. And that's when I started then going, okay, let's really start looking at this field properly rather than just taking everything on face value. But you have got those two camps. So until you've got a generally educated field, which it's not at the moment, you're never going to get this online paranormal and inverted commas bullying or trolling or whatever you want to call it. Do you know what I mean? You're never going to stop that, are you? We're never going to be able to achieve that.
No, absolutely not. You're not going to ever stop this friction between ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. But I still, I do like the idea of paranormal unity, but I do feel in a way that we do have it because, I get along with Kev Kerr, everyone's in the chat room, Gray, Rudd, I get along with pretty much all of them. So that is my community. That is my para-unity buddies. You know what I mean?
They're the people you go to if you've got something that you've captured.
Absolutely.
And you go, actually, I've caught this. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. What's your opinion on it? And they'll come back with, well, I've come across this before. This is what's caused this. This is a light refraction against this. It's bounced off this and blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. And Ashley, obviously. But if you just put it out there on social media, you're going to get those two camps coming together under one post, and then it degenerates into, well, that's crap. This is crap. You know what I mean? And it can get quite nasty at times, and there is no need for it.
No, there isn't. Absolutely not. And, again, it's down to respect. I respect most people's opinions. The only people that I don't respect are the ones that will sit there and start slagging other people off. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that I think, you know what, I want to avoid you, and I will avoid them completely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ashley?
I was just going to jump in to sort of say, I'll make it clear, because the way we were talking there, I think both camps are equally valid and important to the field, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. The ghost hunters go out well, as we're defining them in this show anyway. The ghost hunters go out there and seemingly do their bit and all that kind of stuff, but they're equally interested in the paranormal. They're equally interested in life after death. They're equally interested in ghosts and spirits and that kind of stuff. And what they capture is valid and understand, and equally the same with the investigator kind of camp, as you call it. Both can work together and have worked together. I've worked with both camps. I know that it can work, and the only problem is when you get few people that do attack rather than give that chance and have that patience to talk about things properly. That's the only issue. Both sides can work together. I think they can come together. I think they do come together on a regular basis, and they do talk and they do get on, and sometimes they do investigate together as well, because I've seen that. I just think there's the odd occasion when things don't quite go quite. I mean, the obvious thing here that probably being missed is the fact that bad press is always more noted than good press and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as something goes bad and things goes rubbish, we always pick up on it and we always sit here and to talk about it and all that kind of stuff.
True.
But it's all the good things that we probably miss, and there's a lot in the field, a lot in the community, and the ghost hunters, the investigators, the researchers, because there's a lot of people that don't go out at night and investigate, stupid hours like some of us do, and actually do research a lot of stuff and get a lot more from that as well. Yeah. And the spiritualist groups as well, all these people that put into this huge field that we've got, they're all valid and all important, and all their views are important. And I think if people take time to transition between the different areas and then the different groups and talk to people, regardless of gathering evidence or capturing stuff, you'll find out a lot more about these people and understand them a bit better. And that's part of what I try to do as well, because I think that's kind of important. And I just think that's where you'll find, if there is such thing as para-unity, which I'm not particularly sure whether I like that term anymore, but that's where you'll find us all getting along a bit more.
I agree. Actually, on that point, I do agree. And we're at the end of the show, guys, believe it or not.
Oh, no, really? Okay.
Yeah, we've just hit 10 o'clock. There were so many people in the chat room tonight. I just want to do a few shout-outs before we go. Lindsay Waghorn, Gray Rudd, thank you. Kyla Ann. We've got myself. We've got Kerry Ann. She was in there. Richard Clements was there. We have James Steele. We had, oh, my goodness, Carl Hutchinson was in there. Kev Kerr was in there. Oh, there are so many people in the chat room. It certainly is a subject that definitely caught everybody's imagination. I do apologise if I've missed anybody. I'm trying to scroll through just to check I've caught everybody.
Gray Rudd.
I thought I said Gray. Sorry, Gray, if I missed you. Kev Kerr, obviously. I mean, so many people are in the chat room tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Anyway, I've taken over, Paul. This is your show.
Yeah, absolutely. Stand back,
Sorry.
Stop bullying me, all right? Right, okay, so I thank everybody for joining me in the chat room. It's been an absolutely fantastic show, as always, and I'm glad that it's sort of captured your imagination and you wanted to be here. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you want to come back for next week. I am trying to secure an interview with Michael David Roberts from Take the Cake Productions in regards to his TV shows, the Morbid show that he's trying to put together at the moment, and various other projects that he's working on. So I'm trying to secure him for an interview, and hopefully I can get that out next week. If not, then I will be talking about Ghosts of the Seven Seas next week. So that should be really interesting. But anyway, yeah, I've gone over time. So thank you all for tonight, and I shall see you all next week. So have a good week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.